back in the JR the Boss Man Show, joined by Bleacher Report NBA writer Sean Hiking here in the Boss Man Show, straight out of Portland out there, PDX. How you doing, brother? How's it out there in the great Northwest out there?
I'm good. Good to be on with you, JR.
Yes, indeed. Well, Sean, I wanted to ask you about the Trailblazers themselves because the owner, Paul Allen, just sadly passed away. So I want to kind of get your feel for what does that mean going forward with Neil O'Shea and Terry Stotts and contract-wise, and how's the team going to be handled going forward there?
Well, I think a lot of it is up in the air right now. Paul Allen wasn't married. He didn't have kids. So his sister is actually the next in line in terms of inheriting all his assets. And she's been pretty public about how she doesn't really have any interest in being a sports owner or really even being involved in running a team. So I think the team is going to get sold at some point. And, who that is, I have no idea. It's probably going to be several months, maybe even up to a year before that gets resolved. But obviously with how well the NBA is doing right now, there are definitely billionaires and millionaires lining up, to talk to the league office and say, hey, if a team ever comes available, keep us in mind. And then, the league has a process of vetting all those people to make sure they actually have the money that they say they have, and they make sure that all their stuff is in good standing. And so, it's going to take a few months to sort through all of that stuff. But, I do expect the team to get sold at some point. And what happens beyond that, I really don't know.
So would you say maybe give stability for a year, maybe to Terry Stotts and Neil O'Shea if the season kind of doesn't go the way folks plan it to go?
Yeah, I wouldn't imagine there'd be some sweeping changes anytime soon. Usually when there's a new ownership group, you kind of see this. Usually when somebody new is in charge, they're going to want to bring in their own coach or their own GM or all that kind of stuff. But, they have a pretty good track record here the last several years, so maybe whoever the new owners are, whenever that gets resolved, they're going to, want to just keep things as they are. But, who knows? I think it's going to, like I said, it's going to be a while before any of that is resolved, so I wouldn't expect there to be any changes anytime soon.
And you was just up there when the T-Wolves came to town up there, man. How crazy of a mess was Jimmy Butler in that situation with Thibodeau and his team? Because I feel like that team just going through the motions, waiting for him to be gone whenever Tibbs and Glenn Taylor and Scott Layden pulled the trigger on him.
It's just wild to see it up close because, Jimmy was, he was around. He was in the locker room before and after the game, and he was, at shoot-around hanging out. But then during the game, he stayed in the back. Tim said he was getting treatment, but he just wasn't out there on the bench. So it's just kind of this weird in-between zone of, he's around the team, but he kind of decides when he's going to play. He played against the Clippers last night. He's probably going to play against the Lakers tomorrow night because that game is on ESPN, and the league doesn't like it when players don't play on their national TV games. But it's just kind of a really weird spot that everybody's in, and nobody really looks good coming out of it.
Yeah, and do you feel like Tibbs maybe missed it by not taking a deal for Miami, sending around Josh Richardson, a first-round pick, because it's not helping the team? He says he's about winning. I know he's trying to save his job and not get fired, but the team is not going anywhere. This is just a mess. So it's going to be that cloud over the team no matter what they do. So how about it's made that deal with Miami when you could? But now it's playing real games and it's just going badly for you.
They definitely should have done something. But I think the moment that really it turned was when Jimmy missed the start of training camp, and then he came back a couple weeks in and returned to practice and had that whole ordeal where he basically showed up everybody in scrimmage and then did the interview with Rachel Nichols. And this should have been done before that point. And I get wanting to hold out for the best offer that you can get and not feeling like your hands are tied, but it's just, you can just tell. I was around, being around the team the other night. You can just tell all of them are just so over this, and they just are ready for this whole thing to be done. They should have just gotten out in front of this back, during training camp or shortly into the season. And now Josh Richardson is playing pretty well in Miami. I don't know if that deal is even still on the table for them right now.
Exactly. And if I was a team that Jimmy Butler may sign with this offseason, I wouldn't trade for him because, as you and I both know, when the Knicks traded for Melo, you lost those four pieces, and the team was depleted when he got there. And the Knicks was always behind the eight ball because they had trade, because Anthony wanted to beat the CBA, and it really didn't change that much, but it hurt the Knicks going forward.
Yeah, I would agree. Now, Miami and Houston, which are the two teams you kind of hear about now or as maybe still being in the mix, those teams are in kind of different situations than that New York thing with Carmelo, because those teams aren't going to have cap space going forward. And so if they want to get Jimmy Butler, they have to trade for him. But yeah, if you're a team like the Knicks or the Clippers or some of these other teams, like the Nets that you heard about as being, possible suitors this summer. Those teams are all going to have enough cap space to just sign him outright. And yeah, and so far from everything that we're hearing, none of those teams are really interested in giving up pieces to trade for him now when they feel like they'll have a chance to sign him in the offseason. So, I think those teams are kind of making the right call there.
And also, Kyrie Irving got fined $25,000 by the league for throwing the ball to the stands last night because he was pissed off that Jamal Murray tried to go for 50. And I'm a big Kyrie guy. I love talking to the guy when I see him in Atlanta here or when they come to town. But you should have been mad when dude got 40, 45, 48. I mean, you should have been mad then. He's working you that good. Boston, one of the best defensive teams in the league, and you get this guy go off like this, and then you're mad because he tried to go for 50. Now, I know you might not like it, but hey, you should have stopped and did somebody in the first, second, third quarters too before he got to that point.
Yeah, I agree with. I feel the same way. Where you know how in baseball a pitcher gives up a home run and then they feel like the person, like if the player like flips his bat or sits and watches the home run, they get mad at that and like, oh, you're disrespecting the game or you're violating the unwritten rules. Like, okay, you're mad that the guy celebrated the home run. Don't give up the home run. Don't let Jamal Murray go off for 4. Now I would understand it more if the Celtics had won the game and then it looked like, oh, Jamal Murray was just trying to get 50 points in a loss. That would be kind of a bad look. But like Kyrie, they beat the Celtics. The Nuggets beat the Celtics, and Kyrie Irving was mad that Jamal Murray was trying to get to 50. Like, you guys just lost, and you let him go for 48. You guys have bigger things to worry about than whether he takes a shot at the buzzer in a game that was already decided. So I guess I get it. You're a competitor. Kyrie's frustrated in the moment, it's whatever. But now he's like coming out today and talking about, oh, I felt disrespected, and I think that was a petty move. But like, okay, don't let the guy go for 48.
Exactly. Like when you're hot, guys getting mad because Kyrie's a great offensive player. He can go off like that as well. Like, if he got 50 or something, are people going to be mad about it? No. They need to stop you. Sometimes you're just going to get worked some nights. And that's what happened last night.
Yeah, and I remember this, a number of years ago. I think this is when Nicholas Batum was still on the Blazers. He took a shot at the end of a game against the Spurs to get a triple-double, and then he came out and said, like, oh, I'm sorry, like, that was disrespectful, like, the game was over and I was going for my stats. And they asked Greg Popovich about it, and he was like, I don't care. Like, that's just kind of
exactly.
I don't know. I always have kind of a problem with whenever people are talking about, oh, this isn't violating the unwritten rules, or, oh, it's disrespecting the game. Like, if Kyrie is mad that Jamal Murray had 48 and tried to get to 50 in a game, like, he shouldn't have let him get to that many points in the first place.
And two more examples from NFL. People mad about Thomas doing the Joe Horn celebration on Sunday, and people mad about Kevin Byard going to the Cowboys star last night. Well, if you don't want that to happen, don't throw an interception, don't let them score a touchdown.
Exactly. No, it's just the same like I was saying earlier with the bat flip or anything like that in baseball. Like, don't give up the home run if you don't want the guy celebrating it.
Exactly. People should have fun. Be not take it so seriously. Hey, if you want not something, stop them, please. Now, this is what I want to stop. Sean, is this: the Cavaliers paying coaches. I think they're still paying Mike Brown, T. Lue, David Blatt. Now Larry Drew worked them for a buyout after they get a new coach next season.
Yeah,
Larry Drew played hardball and won with the Cavs, but I must admit, if I'm going to take all them losses, you're going to pay me for it. I agree with Larry. Now, Larry Drew, when he was in Atlanta, he wasn't the best to deal with, but, I get why he did what he did.
Yeah, well, first of all, I'll never blame anybody for trying to get the money that they can if they have the leverage to do it. So first of all, there's that, but also, like, just some of these situations that Larry Drew has been in. I was just talking about, like, the Bucks are in town tonight, so I was just talking about this with some of the Bucks guys this morning. That I don't know if you remember this several years ago. When the Jason Kidd was in the process of basically engineering his move over to the Bucks from the Nets after he tried to take over that organization, and this was like being reported as being done. And then in the middle of that, the Bucks draft Jabari Parker with the number 2 pick. They have their introductory press conference with Jabari after the draft, and like they trot out Larry Drew to sit next to him at the press conference and say. And talk about, like, oh, we're building this great future together. And meanwhile, behind the scenes, this is all being worked out that, Jason Kidd is going to go there. And, like, 2 days later, he gets it. Now, so Larry Drew has kind of gotten a raw deal in some of these situations before. So, yeah, he's in this situation where they fire Ty Lue 6 games into the season, and he's going to be the interim coach. Yeah, he wants to get paid a little bit more and get some guaranteed for next season. Like, yeah, I don't blame him at all for that.
Exactly. And if I'm T. Lue, I am so glad that I got fired because I'm gonna take all them losses, deal with all that headache and pain. Tyler already has enough health issues. He takes it very seriously. So once he stresses himself out. So we don't need his heart going crazy. All the losses he's gonna be taking out this year. So I'm happy for T. Lue to get get healthy, get recharged, and maybe he's waiting in the bullpen to take Luke Walton's job next year.
Yeah. I as soon as I saw that, like there was a talk today that they fired Ty Lue, like, oh, it wasn't fair to him. I really don't think Ty Lue was losing a lot of sleep over getting fired. He's still getting. Dan Gilbert is still paying him $15 million, and he doesn't have those wins, those losses. That record is not going to go in his resume. Now, as far as what happens with the Lakers, I have no idea. I know he has a good relationship with LeBron. I guess one guy I would maybe keep an eye on if that were to come to a head, and I don't know if that's going to happen anytime soon, but back in Cleveland, like when Ty Lue first took over, like when David Blatt was still there, LeBron's people wanted Mark Jackson, because Mark Jackson signed with Clutch, and so he's has the same agency, and the Cavs said basically, no, we're not hiring Mark Jackson. So I don't know if that's the guy. I'm sure that's the guy that LeBron might push for because of the Rich Paul stuff, but that's another guy to keep an eye on. I don't know what's going on with Luke Walton, but yeah, I mean, the Ty Lue thing is interesting. I don't know if it would still be in the mix there. I know he and LeBron have a good relationship at this point, but that's a lot of stress to deal with. I don't know if that's something Ty Lue would want to sign up for again.
And speaking of the Cavs, J.R. Smith is mad he's being benched, wants to be traded. Tristan Thompson unhappy, calling out Colin Sexton. Kyle Korver wants to be traded now from the Cavs. They are a big old mess. So it's time for them to trade those veterans, get some assets, because when LeBron was there, they gave away assets. Just trade those guys away from second-round picks and try to rebuild through the draft that way, find diamonds and diamond in the roughs, and go that way.
Well, that's what they should do, and I mean that's what they should have done when. As soon as LeBron left, that's what they should have done. They gave Kevin Love that big extension, and I know it's going to be a little bit below market going forward, but you're already seeing he's going to be out the next month or two. So I don't know how much trade value he's going to have. Like J.R. Smith's trade value is probably non-existent at this point. I don't know how much you're going to get for some of those guys, and it's also the kind of thing they're under contract for so long that you might as well just teams are going to have more cap space next summer, and teams are going to be able to take on some of those contracts a little bit next summer, and getting more draft picks in the short term. Like the Cavs' own draft pick is probably going to be top 5 with the way their season is going. So I don't know if that's really the most important thing for them, but yeah, they really should have gone all in on the youth movement at the start of the off season, and just gotten rid of all these veterans if they could have at the time.
That's one I got for you. The Warriors do it again. They found Alfonso McKinney out of G League, and like Jonathan Simmons was with the Spurs, and look at how he's playing, which makes it more apparent how Pat McCall screwed himself again, because this guy's playing so well. They ain't gonna convert that two-way into a probably a minimum contract eventually, and Pat McCall screwed himself again by thinking he's better than what he is. Now he's out in the cold somewhere, still on the Golden State's control. They can match any deal.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a guy like that, it's tough, because it's not like he had a bigger deal that he left on the table because he wanted to go back to Golden State this past summer. Those 2016 deals are still on the books, and the salary cap didn't really go up very much. So it's not like teams had a lot of money that they could have signed Pat McCaw. So for him, you sign the 1-year qualifying offer, or whatever other deal, the 1-year deal to negotiate. You sign that deal, get a ring, get your third ring already, and then you're just next summer you go get paid, and he kind of missed his opportunity there. I don't know what he's going to be able to do next summer, but we'll see.
Yes, indeed, with Sean. Hey, good work as always, my good brother. We'll talk to you real soon, man. Hold it down in PDX, man.
Yeah, good to talk to you, man.
All right, folks, that's Sean Hiking here on the Bossman Show, people.
One, yay. all your photo, video, and voiceover needs, check out the fine folks at Blueberry Productions. They will take good care of you. If you don't believe me, you can see for yourself. Check out their work at blueberryproductions.tv, the Facebook page, Blueberry Productions, also a Vimeo page, a YouTube page, and it's Blueberry, BLUBERRY, Prod on Twitter. Check them out today. Blueberry Productions, great people, great work, great service.
Hey there, your yard took a real beating this summer. Luckily, Scott's Turf Builder Winter Guard has your back. Just feed your grass with Scott's again this fall when the air is cool and the soil is warm. It's the perfect time to give your lawn a boost. If you do, Winter Guard will give your yard the nourishment it needs to help weak, thin grass recover and support root growth, giving you a greener, more resilient lawn both now and next spring. Guaranteed. Grab a bag of Scott's Turf Builder Winter Guard today. You'll be back to barbecuing in no time. This is a Scott's Yard.
Hey parents, we all try to be extra careful with our children in the car, but then we get an important call or text. Remember, our children are watching. Make every drive a good example. Be in the zone. Turn off your phone. Visit childrenshospital.vanderbilt.org/BITZ to learn more about our teen driver safety program. Brought to you by Monroe Carroll Jr. Children's Hospital at Vanderbilt, the Ford Motor Company Fund, and the Allstate Foundation.
Hello, my name is Travis Williams, President and CEO of Academics and Athletic Consulting, focusing on educating and empowering tomorrow's collegiate athletic leaders. My passion is for the education and genuine concern and care for today's student athlete. It's the centerpiece of my life's work. A college education, both in and out of the classroom, is a truly rewarding benefit. For more information on AAC, you can go to www.academicsandathleticsconsulting.com. Once again, www.academicsandathleticsconsulting.com. Or you can follow me on Facebook at Academics and Athletic Consulting, or Twitter at Coach TWill24, or Instagram Travis L. Williams 24. Or you can call me at 404-542-6079. Once again, AAC is very proud to partner with J.R. McHenry of the Bossman Radio Show, covering sports and entertainment across the country. Please tune in weekly for informative, entertaining, and expert analysis on today's sports and entertainment topics. Thank you.
Nikki D on the beat.
Folks, back in the Jared the Boss Man show, but joined by my guy Emery Hunt from footballgameplan.com. Learn about all the matchups, all different football plays, terminology, inside zones, outside zones, TE stunts. You learn all that at footballgameplan.com. Emery, what's good, my brother?
What's going on, man? I appreciate you having me on.
Man, no, it's all on you, brother. Glad to have you on, man. As always, to bring us the great insight. And I want to start off today, Emery. I'm about the Atlanta Falcons defense. Signed Bruce Irvin today, 1-year deal, $1.5 million. Help that pass rush. Also, Deion Jones practice today as well. He'll be back for that Cowboy game. Atlanta's quietly getting healthier on defense, quietly improving on defense, Emery. Do you feel like even though that the division's a little bit out of the way right now, but they can still compete for an NFC playoff spot, maybe get that 6th seed, if they maybe go down the stretch 6-2?
Yeah, I think they're in great position to make a run to get that wild card spot because as of right now, you look at the 4 division winners and the Carolina Panthers being the 5 teams that would be in. There's no one in the NFC East or the NFC West or even the North at number 2 that would, I think, pose a threat to Atlanta. And if last week what we saw against Washington is of any indication, their offense plays fast, they're going to still be explosive. And like you said, they played well defensively there, and they're getting healthier on defense. Plus, they signed Bruce Irvin. So, yes, they're all things are aligning perfectly for Atlanta to make a nice run to close out the season.
And I want to get your thoughts on the Dallas Cowboys trade for Amari Cooper. I know they force fed him a little bit on Monday Night Football against the Titans. Do you like the move for the Dallas Cowboys, giving a first round pick for Amari Cooper? And what do you think he'll do for the Cowboys offense going forward, being the technical route runner that he is?
I think it was a good move, man. I know people are knocking Dallas for giving up a first round pick, but if you draft a first round pick, he could be a bust, he could be a good player, but at the end of the day, you found somebody that's 24 years old that can help your team out right now. That at the end of the day, you're not going to worry about whether or not you pick the guy in the first round. We don't harass the Patriots for consistently missing on picks. That's the biggest quietly. They do a good job of scouting everybody else's talent, but not their own as far as the draft is concerned. They have a lot of misses in the draft. So whether or not you have a first-round pick, at least they got it on a player that they know is a proven commodity, a Pro Bowl player. And he definitely helps out their offense because he expands everyone else's responsibility and makes them a lot better as a result, because they're going to operate off a lot more one-on-one. Open things up in a running game. And last game we saw a glimpse of what could possibly happen. I think now the onus falls on Scott Linehan and the play calling to make sure they maximize the entire talent that they have at their disposal.
Now, Emery, about the Cowboys defense, they've transferred to the Seattle 3-deep zone, cover one, however you want to look at it. From the Rodman and Ellis school of that Tampa 2. How do you rate the Cowboys transition going from a Tampa 2 to a cover 3 team now?
I think the defense is really good, man, to be honest. And, they got a lot of athleticism across the board at each and every level. Their front line is athletic. They got athletic linebackers. And the secondary is a bunch of versatile guys that can match up one-on-one. They can play zone well. They can play man well. They're interchangeable, in my opinion. And, when you have that amount of athleticism, it's not a surprise to see them go to a cover 2 defense where you have those athletic linebackers that can get down the middle of the field and cover the deep middle, like Vander Esch and also Jalen Smith. So I like the move. I like the defense. I like what they were able to build there, and I think they're going to be fine on that side of the ball for quite some time.
We're joined by Emery Hunt, football game plan here on the Bossman Show. Now, Emery, the Chargers, they're 6-2. They're quietly moving along with Casey getting all the love right there, and the Patriots doing what they do. How do you like the Chargers as a team, as a complete football team? Signed a new kicker finally because Sturgis was maybe missing too many kicks for my liking and their liking as well. So where do you say Phillip Rivers and the Chargers going forward this rest of the season here?
I like the Chargers, man. I think that's one of those teams you can't count out in the AFC. And when you look at what they do well, they're balanced. They can run the ball, they can throw the football real well. They do a lot of things that causes them to have so much success. And when you look at them finally getting the kicking game or kicking situation correct, I think that's just going to help them out overall, because that's been a big bugaboo for them. If they can get that squared away, they're going to be a very dangerous team moving forward.
And the New Orleans Saints, they signed Dez Bryant today. They brought him in on a 1-year deal. How do you think Dez is fitting with the New Orleans Saints in that locker room and that culture under Drew Brees and Sean Payton?
I think it's going to be fine, man, because you look at what he does well. He's a lot like Michael Thomas, just a bit older. And I think when you have a guy like Dez Bryant that can do a lot of the same things that your number one receiver can do, it's just going to help you out as a whole. I just think that the Saints, outside of Michael Thomas, didn't really have a threat. Their number 2 receiver is essentially Alvin Kamara. So you bring in a guy that still has some talent, can catch the football, with the best of them. May not be the most explosive, but neither is Michael Thomas, but they're always open. They can catch the ball. That's all you want. And now you're able to find more isolated matchups with Alvin Kamara, which just helps out your offense as a whole. So I love the move. I think the move is fantastic, and it should help the Saints offense open up a little bit more.
And what the Saints exposed, Emery, was the Rams' defensive season on the back end there. Even Marcus Peters getting burned on plays out there. The Rams miss a key to leave that much, but they need him to come back, and they need the pass rush to kind of cover up for that back end as well going forward when you get to this playoff situation with the Rams in that tournament there coming up there in January.
Yeah, I think so, man. I think when you look at what's going on with Los Angeles right now, they really can't affect the pocket, which is causing them to not be as aggressive in stopping the run. And all of that just is killing the momentum that they're trying to build moving forward toward playoffs. Because, again, if you could score a point, but your defense has to be able to at least be somewhat confident. Like, you don't have to be number one, but you can't be bad in the situations, situational football like third downs, inside the red zone. Though, trying to close out games, you have to excel there more so than any other part of the game. And right now they're not. So yes, they do sorely miss Aqib Talib, and hopefully when he gets back, this defense can get back to being what we thought it was going to be to open up the season.
Yes, indeed. Now, the Houston Texans, another team that's won six in a row, defeating Denver out there this past week. Demarius Thomas, they got him in a trade after Will Fuller with that ACL injury. What are your thoughts on the Texans, and can they make some noise in the AFC quietly with Bill O'Brien, those guys getting their acts together, starting off 0-3 this year?
I think so. You have the best quarterback in the division. You have an improving run game. The offensive line is still going to be a work in progress. The defensive guys are healthy, and you talk about premier players like Jadeveon Clowney, J.J. Watt, Whitney Merciless. You also talk about Tyrann Mathieu. You have young players coming up around them as well, like Justin Reed and Natrell Jamerson. You have all of those guys on defense with an outstanding quarterback that's not afraid of pressure, that's able to play above the X's and O's. So, yes, they are trending in the right direction. That's a serious threat to win the AFC, in my opinion. I think when you have a quarterback like Deshaun Watson that's not afraid of pressure, that's able to be a gamer when you need him to be a gamer, I think that right there plays perfectly for a team that's starting to hit its stride. And once they get to the playoffs, they're going to need to make a couple of plays or two, and you got the right guy under center that can make it happen.
It was reported that Nick Mullins is going to begin starting against the Giants on Monday Night Football. How do you like the move of the 49ers going sticking with Nick Mullins? And when he's coming out of college, or did you think he'll kind of have some success in the league if he got in the right system?
Well, I think it's good to have a guy that has just come off of a very good performance. He's playing well, ride the hot hand, even though C.J. Beathard didn't play terrible. But you got to ride the hot hand, reward the guy for a good performance, and allow him to go out there and see if he can put together back-to-back performances. Now, coming out of college, I still think Nick Mullins, to me, is doing what I had him slated to be doing, as being a number two, fill in when needed, but you can't trust him no more than 3 to 4 games. So credit to him for doing a great job in his first showing out there on the field against the Raiders. Hopefully he can put together back-to-back performances. But other than that, I think you're pushing your limit if you're expecting him to be a full-time starter in the NFL.
Last one I got for you is the Cleveland job. They fired Hugh Jackson and Todd Haley. Who you think should probably get their job in offseason? A good fit for Baker Mayfield and his skill set, and that's Cleveland is trying to build a new culture there going forward.
You know what? One guy that no one's talking about that has had his name mentioned as head coach before, but he's always been an offensive coordinator. How about Pep Hamilton? I think that's one guy that no one's talking about being a candidate. I mean, he has worked with some young quarterbacks. He's worked in the NFL. He's worked in that franchise with the Cleveland Browns. I think Pep Hamilton would be a fantastic option for Cleveland, especially when you pair his offensive prowess with a young quarterback and young offensive weapons to try to get that franchise headed in the right direction.
Here to Emory, before you go, tell the people about your football game plan, what you guys got planned this week for all the fans and who love the work you do.
But you can follow me on Twitter at FBallGamePlan. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/footballgameplan. And this weekend, I'll be the color analyst on the Morgan State-Delaware State ball game. You can find that on ESPN3, Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Again, that's ESPN3 and the Watch ESPN app.
No doubt, my man Emory here on the Bossman Show. Emory, good job as always, my good brother. Talk to you real soon, man.
All right, man. Have a good one.
You too, brother. It's Emory Hunt, people on the Bossman Show.
all your photo, video, and voiceover needs, check out the fine folks at Blu-ray Productions. They will take good care of you. If you don't believe me, you can see for yourself. Check out their work at blueberryproductions.tv, the Facebook page, Blueberry Productions, also a Vimeo page, a YouTube page, and it's Blueberry, BLUBERRY, Prod on Twitter. Check them out today. Blueberry Productions, great people, great work, great service.
Hey there, your yard took a real beating this summer. Luckily, Scott's Turf Builder Winter Guard has your back. Just feed your grass with Scott's again this fall when the air is cool and the soil is warm. It's the perfect time to give your lawn a boost. If you do, Winter Guard will give your yard the nourishment it needs to help weak, thin grass recover and support root growth, giving you a greener, more resilient lawn both now and next spring. Guaranteed. Grab a bag of Scott's Turf Builder Winter Guard today. You'll be back to barbecuing in no time. This is a Scott's Yard.
Hey parents, we all try to be extra careful with our children in the car, but then we get an important call or text. Remember, our children are watching. Make every drive a good example. Be in the zone. Turn off your phone. Visit childrenshospital.vanderbilt.org/BITZ to learn more about our teen driver safety program. Brought to you by Monroe Carroll Jr. Children's Hospital at Vanderbilt, the Ford Motor Company Fund, and the Allstate Foundation.
Hello, my name is Travis Williams, President and CEO of Academics and Athletic Consultant, focusing on educating and empowering tomorrow's collegiate athletic leaders. My passion is for the education and genuine concern and care for today's student athlete. It's the centerpiece of my life's work. A college education, both in and out of the classroom, is a truly rewarding benefit. For more information on AAC, you can go to www.academicsandathleticsconsulting.com. Once again, www.academicsandathleticsconsulting.com. Or you can follow me on Facebook at Academics and Athletic Consulting, or Twitter at Coach TWill24, or Instagram Travis L. Williams 24. Or you can call me at 404-542-6079. Once again, AAC is very proud to partner with J.R. McHenry of the Bossman Radio Show, covering sports and entertainment across the country. Please tune in weekly for informative, entertaining, and expert analysis on today's sports and entertainment topics. Thank you.
Folks, back in the jar of the Bossman show, by joined by Joe Parsons from the Athletic, covering the Panthers in the NFC South, our rivals up I-85. How you doing there, Joe?
What's going on?
Oh man, not much. I was in your city last night with the Hawks, man. Glad the Hornets won because we must lose games here. Atlanta gets a good draft pick, man.
Yeah, you know what? It's funny. I keep up with the Hornets a little bit, but you know, I was interested today that the Falcons signed Bruce Irvin. That is a guy, I know he obviously has the Atlanta connection, and he played for Dan Quinn in Seattle, but he is a guy I thought the Panthers really could use. Their pass rush has been struggling. They've got one guy who's done very well in Mario Addison, but other than that, Julius Peppers hasn't done a whole lot this year at age 38. I thought Bruce Irvin would look real good. I know the Panthers definitely had a lot of conversations about him. But so not only did they not get him, he goes to a division rival. So that was a tough break for the Carolina Panthers.
And, Joe, that's how the fans here felt when you guys signed Eric Reed. Because when Neal went down and Allen went down and Williams signed Eric Reed, it was like, really? He went to Carolina and we could have had him too? So that's kind of how we felt when your guy got Eric Reed. So I know I guess we're even there with Bruce Irvin and Eric Reed. We're even, I guess, to a degree.
Yeah, that's a good point. You're right. I remember getting having a lot of Falcons fans show up on my timeline back about 2 months ago when the Panthers signed Reed. And, it's interesting. I think clearly the move today by the Falcons is showing their fan base and the rest of the NFL that they have not, that they may be behind the Panthers and Saints right now, but there's a lot of football left to be played, a lot of division games where you can make up ground very quickly, and the Saints too. I mean, look, that already explosive offense going out and getting Des Bryant, another move that's sort of like win now. All these teams kind of jockeying for position to see if they can make that one move, that one signing to kind of push them over the hump.
Now, Joe, in training camp this year, did you see his team being at this point of the year having 6 wins and 2 losses? Was that something that you saw coming, or you thinking more of like 4-4 maybe coming out of camp this year?
Honestly, when I did all my preseason picks and did shows like yours back in August, I told people that I thought this Panthers team was a lot like last season. They added a few pieces here or there, but it was really, for the most part, it was really the same personnel as last year when they were an 11-5 team, when they were a wild card team. Just they couldn't get past the Saints. I mean, they lost. They lost 3 games to New Orleans last year, including the playoff game down at the Superdome. The one big difference to me has been the arrival of Norv Turner as offensive coordinator. He has reinvigorated Cam Newton. He has kind of put a charge into this offense, getting the young playmakers they have the football, talking about Christian McCaffrey, of course. But more than that, the 2 guys that they did not do much last year, one guy they didn't have was first-round pick DJ Moore, and then the other guy was last year's second-round pick, Curtis Samuel, and he spent most of his rookie year hurt last year. But Norv has found ways and Cam as well to get those guys the ball, not necessarily throwing it way downfield either. I mean, they're doing reverses, some screens, some real innovative play calling here through the first half of the season.
And how those receivers developed on the North Turner, like Samuel there and DJ Moore and Funches getting better as well. How are those guys developing in your mind under the tools of North Turner and his staff?
Well, it's interesting. When the Panthers came down to Atlanta in week 2, Samuel was still sidelined with he'd had a little procedure to correct an irregular heartbeat. And they really weren't playing DJ Moore much early in the year. Now, he did have a touchdown that game against the Falcons, but it might have been his only touch of the game, quite frankly. And Panther fans were kind of like, what's going on here? Because they saw Calvin Ridley touching the ball and running all over the field for the Falcons. And this was a guy, you remember the Panthers and Falcons took Moore and Ridley in back-to-back picks kind of late in that first round this year.
Sure did.
It did take some time. I think Norv Turner was kind of, for one thing, I think he was kind of getting his feet back under him after having been retired for a season or a season and a half. And I think DJ Moore, I already told you, Samuel was sidelined, but DJ Moore, I think, was trying to get the offense down. There's a lot of moving pieces to Norv Turner's offense, but man, it's looked pretty good here in recent weeks.
Now, Thomas Davis said the other day that this is the most talented team he's ever seen. And do you agree with his assessment? Because I do some talent on his roster they went to the Super Bowl with as well. But he's saying the most talented team he's ever seen.
Yeah, you know what? He was responding to a question because Cam Newton had said earlier that day, this was just yesterday, he had said he did not think it was the most talented team. And the point Cam was making is he thought that their chemistry was terrific. And it has been, and it helps when you're winning, you know that. But I think then a couple of reporters went to Thomas Davis and said, hey, Cam thinks, this is not necessarily the most talented team, but you guys are winning, and that kind of line of questioning. And Davis said, I disagree. And he said, I do think it's the most talented. I don't know. I mean, that team had Josh Norman, who, despite how well these young corners are playing, at that time, I think Norman was at a little different level than these guys are now. That team had Ted Ginn, who was still in his prime before he's kind of gotten hurt here of late with New Orleans. I think, I think Ted Ginn at that point was probably an upgrade over Torrey Smith, who sort of plays that same position for the Panthers. Defensively, maybe at least in the front seven, maybe a wash because it's a lot of the same guys, except they do have Julius Peppers. But it's an interesting debate, and certainly the 2018 Panthers hope that folks are having this debate, the first week of February.
Now, Joe, I want to ask you this now. What all went into the sign of Eric Reed? I know a lot of teams passed on him, but what exactly went down with David Tepper and Ron Rivera and those guys to bring him in and actually sign him? And how's the response to being locally to him being on the team now?
Well, this was not a move that ever would have been made under former owner Jerry Richardson, who was a very staunch, kind of conservative, old school kind of owner. Grew up in the South. Was not terribly open-minded. Some things he was, but not when it came to he didn't want to have any kind of signings or anything, additions to his team that would have been what he viewed a distraction. So it absolutely, to me, when this happened 6-7 weeks ago, signaled the real arrival of David Tepper as an NFL owner and a different kind of owner for the Carolina Panthers. I mean, he has he's willing to be a little bit more open to players' beliefs, kind of their interests, and it's still a hot button topic. If I tweet something about Eric Reed, or if I put a picture out of him kneeling during the anthem, I've got half of the responses being very supportive and good for you and glad you're bringing a light to this issue. And then a bunch of people are, saying derogatory things and tweeting not very nice messages. So it's that's kind of where things are. I mean, Reed has played well. But he's, you know him. He's very adamant in his message. He's not going to waver for anybody.
Not at all.
And you have to respect his determination or his resolution, his resolve, I should say, on this issue. That he sees he sees what he says, hundreds of years of systemic oppression. And he's not going to stand for that national anthem.
And Joe, let me ask you this last thing I got before we get out of here today, Joe, is this: the Panthers play at Pittsburgh tomorrow. Then you got the second half of the season coming up here. They think the Panthers will probably end up being the 5 seed in the NFC most likely. Probably playing the Redskins in their divisional or their wild card weekend, and maybe can make a run there and hopefully avoid the Saints. They can make a little run. Is that what you've seen so far in your crystal ball going forward?
Well, I'm not ready. I'm not ready to concede this division yet. I think the Panthers. I don't know if they're any better equipped to handle the Saints' speed defensively as a Panthers defense. I mean, than they were last year, but. I think this is going to come down to the end of December again. The Panthers' schedule is very interesting, and they all kind of fall this way. I know the Falcons do too. But the Panthers finish Week 16 home to the Saints. Week 15 home to the Saints. Week 16, the Falcons come here. Week 17, the Panthers go to New Orleans. I mean, they can't be like 2 games behind at that point. They have to at least be within a game in New Orleans to give themselves a chance. And like I said, I think this is definitely a playoff team. Whether they end up being a wild card or division title, the end of December will dictate that for all these teams.
Yes, indeed. Well, Joe, good to get you on the show again, man. Talk some Panthers football with you. I like covering you. Get your guys to love coming to y'all city. It's a great time to come to. And I look forward to coming there on the 23rd of December, man.
Hey, man, I appreciate you having me on. Take care.
tears run down from my eyes. Lord, somebody, ooh, somebody, can anybody find me somebody to love?
Alexa, play hits from Queen.
Okay.
Somebody to love. Somebody.
With Amazon Music, a voice is all you need. Get tens of millions of songs. Download the Amazon Music app today.
Every day the unstoppable, do the impossible. We the undeniable, royalty indefinable.
Ford knows that your vehicle is a reflection of you. So they design beautifully innovative, stylish cars like the Explorer, Escape, and Fusion to make your journey safer, smarter, and more dynamic. Ford, born to roll.
Roll on, sister, roll on.
Learn more at IamBornToRoll.com.
Did you hear the news? Metro PCS is now Metro by T-Mobile. Now you get new plans with unlimited high-speed data all month long, all on the T-Mobile network. Check out the new Metro by T-Mobile today and discover the smarter way to get unlimited. Metro by T-Mobile. That's genius. During congestion, the fraction of customers using greater than 35 gigs per month may notice reduced speeds, and Metro customers may notice reduced speeds versus some T-Mobile customers. Video streams at 480p. Coverage not available in some areas. See store for details and terms and conditions.
Ram Power Days have arrived, which means great deals on the all-new Ram 1500 right in time for football and tailgating season. With 1500's available legendary Hemi engine, you'll have a Hall of Famer powering all your celebrations on game day. See why more people are switching to Ram trucks than ever before. Hurry in for great deals during Ram Power Days. Since 2010, based on IHS Market U.S. household methodology and FCA segmentation of conquest data from U.S. new vehicle registrations for CYE 2010 to 2016, Ram and Hemi are registered trademarks of FCA U.S. LLC.
Till the tears run down from my eyes, Lord, somebody, ooh, somebody, can anybody find me somebody to love?
Alexa, play hits from Queen.
Okay.
Somebody to love. Somebody.
With Amazon Music, a voice is all you need. Get tens of millions of songs. Download the Amazon Music app today.
Bless. What's in that bag, boy?
Folks, back in the Bossman show, talking to one of our good friends of the show, Dan Feldman, ProBasketballTalk.com. Dan, how are things with you on your end, brother?
Good. How about you?
I can't complain, man. I want to talk to you about this Lakers mess. I tell you, I heard early on Magic Johnson preaching patience, LeBron talking about patience, but then a Woj bomb with the report of Magic Johnson going off on Luke Walton, the staff, kind of feeling like Luke's job is in danger a little bit here, and he's getting through the organization. So what are your thoughts on the Lakers getting impatient now, and now may make a rash move that may hurt the team going forward? But I do feel like this, Dan, Luke Walton is on the clock now.
There are so many forces conspiring here. LeBron James always, no matter what he says, he always demands a level of impatience because he's so good. Almost any team with LeBron should be on contending for a title. This Lakers team is not even a playoff lock, nowhere near that. Now, I think they're going to make it, but they are nowhere near a lock. You add the element of being in Los Angeles. It's a high-pressure place. They want to win. They're one of the all-time great franchises. They're used to winning. Luke Walton came to the Lakers with a very good reputation after his stint with the Warriors. So there's a lot of things coming together where there is a lot of pressure. The problem is this roster around LeBron isn't very good. They have these veterans who don't seem to fit, who I think are pretty overrated. They have these young players who are promising. They look like they'll have bright futures. They're not really ready yet. They're going to have ups and downs like most players do. So something is going to have to give. And you look at the history of the NBA, anytime there's all kinds of pressure, usually the person who takes the fall is the head coach.
Exactly, and I just think it's unfortunate. Luke Walton don't deserve that, but Magic Johnson didn't hire him. Plinka did that's not their guy, and I feel like Ty Lue is in the bullpen, one warming up, ready to get that job out there in LA.
Yeah, that would be interesting. Tyronn Lue is a solid coach. I think he had his ups and downs in Cleveland. Regardless of what you thought he did with the Cavaliers, he was definitely on a head coaching track before the Cavs promoted him. So there should be some teams interested. But I also got to look at it like this. If I'm the Lakers and I have the type of budget the Lakers have and I have the appeal of being able to coach LeBron, I'm aiming higher than Lue. Not that settling for Lue would be the worst thing, but there are better coaches out there and I'd be aiming higher.
I would as well. And they signed Chandler officially now to go with JaVale McGee. Needs some size up out there, but like you said, Lance Stevenson, Rondo not a shooter. Lonzo Ball is improved shot, but not really a shooter. So like LeBron needs that him at the top of the key in spacing. He can penetrate and pitch and create 3-pointers. But the Lakers, who you don't trust them to knock down 3 other than KCP and Kuzma.
Yeah, Josh Hart is solid. I mean, there just aren't enough guys who are good three-point shooters. When you get more of the three-point shooting out on the court by going smaller, maybe that means playing Kuzma as your center or something like that, then you're sacrificing a lot of defense. This is an either-or roster. You can't have the offensive spacing you want and the defense you want. You're going to have to pick one. A lot of, they have some depth issues. A lot of times you're going to be picking neither. But for the most part, you can get a lineup that has one or the other, and you're going to give up a lot on the other end. And, that's a tough place to be.
Now, Dan, I want to switch to the Eastern Conference on you here, talking about the Wizards. I saw some on PBT about Wall's trade kicker, how pretty much he's untradeable with that trade kicker, so it'll be Bradley Beal, and they don't want to give up Beal at all. So, what do you attribute the Wizards' struggles to? And does the maxing out of Otto Porter now come back to bite them in the butt and killing all their flexibility with the cap now? Because they're pretty much stuck with Wall, Porter, Beal for a while.
It seems whenever things go wrong for the Wizards, it looks like the sky is falling. It looks beyond ugly. And then throughout the season, they tend to level off. They tend to find their way just enough. They usually make the playoffs, sometimes even win a playoff series. They have been, in recent years, much more successful than most teams in the league, even though they've had some bad times during this stretch that looked maybe not quite as bad as this, but pretty bad. I think you run into some problems. You have a locker room full of players who've had their ups and downs personally together, maybe are a little bit tired of each other. They have a coach that is okay, but nothing to write home about, not a huge difference-making coach. They have a bunch of players on expiring contracts who are looking toward what they're going to earn next summer and being in position to make some money, who maybe aren't doing all the right things. And then they were missing Dwight Howard, who, once you get him back into the fold, he brings some chemistry concerns in the locker room, but is really a missing piece for this team. The center production was woeful. The rebounding was terrible. In the ways that Dwight Howard can help, that's where the Wizards were lacking. So I tend to think they're gonna find a better equilibrium, come together as a better team than they've shown. But it has been real ugly. As far as Otto Porter specifically, they were in a jam. They were at a point where letting him go, they would have had no way to get a comparable replacement. They would have had to downgrade. They had the ability to keep him because he was their own free agent. And so, they were stuck, and he looks overpaid now, and he's obviously off to a pretty poor start. But I really believe in Otto Porter still as a player. He's an excellent shooter, positions himself well defensively, has good length. He's not always strong enough to match up with everybody defensively, but he's pretty solid in most matchups defensively. And so, I'd want him on my team. He is expensive, though. They are locked into this core. It's not ideal. I just don't know what the alternative ever was going to be for them.
Exactly, and I just feel like, do you feel like Scott Brooks' job is in jeopardy eventually? Because he's overseeing it right now. Because I don't think the GM's gonna take the fall for this. So
I got two competing factors on that. One, Ernie Grunfeld, the general manager, the team president, he has been there the entire time the owners owned the team. Ted Leontis, Grunfeld he's a grinder. He finds ways to keep his job. He deflects the blame where it needs to go so that he can keep his job. And he's always found a way for many, many years now, even when the Wizards have looked pretty bad. On the other hand, Scott Brooks is still owed about $21 million over the next 3 years. That's probably too much money where they're just going to fire him. So I don't know which of those things gives, but it seems like they're going to hang on to Brooks for a while now.
I hear that. Now, speaking of another issue we have out here is that, hey, we got the Rockets bringing back Jeff Bzdelik to help their porous defense. What effect do you think he'll have on their defense? And that they lost Bob Moute and Ariza, those guys who really helped them switch. MCW, Ennis, to me, and Melo are not going to answer. You know.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you. I mean, Bzdelik can help, and he's at least interested in defense. He's focused on defense. He's thinking about defense. Mike D'Antoni, for as good as a coach as he is not. D'Antoni is an offensive-minded guy. That's where he spends his time, in film, in preparation. That's what he's always thinking about. He's admitted it, and that's why he needs somebody else on his staff to focus on defense. Bzdelik is qualified to do that. But like you said, the personnel loss is big. The other players they had, Ariza and Bob Moute, were so adept at running the switching scheme they wanted to run. Carmelo Anthony is a liability in it. James Ennis has the potential to be solid. He seemed to fit better defensively than he has so far. And so maybe he can get there. Maybe Michael Carter-Williams can get there, although if you're playing Carter-Williams, then you're going to have some major problems offensively. This is a roster that downgraded. The Rockets did not want payroll to get too high. It's still one of the league's most expensive teams, but they wanted to limit their payroll, and they're paying the price for it.
Yes, indeed. You're right about that. And I also read a story on your site about McDonough and Phoenix, how they sent him a phone call rather than just tell him up front in person. That's another Robert Sarver issue. So hearing this about McDonough and Sarver, Dan, do you feel like that after James Jones and those guys get fired in Phoenix, which will eventually happen, people will be leery about joining that organization going forward?
Man, I love that we're already talking about James Jones getting fired when he hasn't even, I don't think, gotten the long-term GM job officially. I think they're still calling him an interim. And so we're already talking about him getting fired because we know it's going to happen. Robert Sarver is no treat to work for. I don't really blame him necessarily for firing Ryan McDonough over the phone. I've been fired over the phone. Getting fired is the bad part. Making me come in on a day off or when I wasn't going to be there anyway to get fired, that's even worse. Just call me. That's fine. You want to fire me and I'm not going to be there, just call me. Now, if you're there, look me in the eyes and that's different. So I'm not ready to leap all over Sarver for that. But there's so many other reasons to be leery of Sarver, how quickly he goes through general managers, his demanding style, in the past and maybe in the present, although it's hard to tell as they go through this rebuilding, his reluctance to spend. There are so many deep-seated issues from ownership down with the Suns. That said, it's one of 30 general manager jobs in the world, and an NBA general manager job. It's very coveted. A lot of people will think they'll be the person who can overcome that and build a winner. In Phoenix, the Suns have been very good at different points under Sarver. It's not something that's going to stop you. It's just going to make it harder. And so, yeah, they'll find somebody to do it, but it's not the most appealing job in the league.
I hear that. Well, Dan, last one I got for you. How impressed are you that Vince Carter, at 41 years old, of Atlanta Hawks, is still dunking at 41 and being the paid babysitter for these young kids on the Hawks roster?
I wrote an article about how Vince Carter, how amazing it is that he has gone from, he was one of the league's biggest stars, maybe the biggest star, leader in all-star votes, high-flying dunker, beloved by fans, huge mega star, and all of a sudden he's a journeyman, and how incredible that transformation was and how he was taking to it. And I wrote that article 3-4 years ago, and he's still playing, he's still dunking. I figured I got to get this in before he retires, and he's still going. It's incredible.
You got there right with Dan. Thank you so much for your time tonight. Look forward to talking to you down the road, my good brother.
Thanks for having me. Sounds good.
All right, there, folks. Dan Feldman on the Bossman Show.